Okay, on this side, I'm going to come down with two lines that run side by side. That's called parallel. Now, up and down would be like this. See my line? My leg isn't up and down. It's angled like this. So I want to angle my leg like this. See how it's toward the back, not quite all the way up, right here on the edge. So I'm going to come right here, I'm going to draw a line, comes down, and then a line that runs right beside it. Now, see how this one goes up into the body just a little bit. So now I'm going to come a little bit further up here, and then I'm going to take my eraser, and I'm going to erase that line in the middle. Now that line that shows the body, the part of the tummy that we erased that because the leg is in front of it and we can't see that. Okay, now let's go ahead and add this next foot, and then we'll add the foot over here. Now we can't see any of the leg, so I'm going to come slide down and make a hook. Okay, right about here. This one is right, if this is the middle, I'm going to come just a little bit to the left of the middle. So here's the middle, a little bit to the left of the middle. I'm going to start right here, come down, make a hook. See, you can do that. Now to make the other side, I start right at the same point, and as I come up, I get a little bit wider, but I follow that hook part of the way. You want to stay pretty close. Their little toes are pretty skinny. Okay, the next one beside that is the same shape, but it's much shorter. So I'm going to make the same little hook and then come back just like I did. Now the other side goes the other direction, and it kind of comes down and curves over. Watch this happen. I'm going to come down and curve over. And then, once again, start at the same spot, get a little bit wider as I pull up, and there you go, you've done it! That wasn't so hard, was it? I knew you could do it. Okay, now let's do the other foot. We're going to start on this side, and we're going to slide down the slide and make a little hook just on the end. Okay, I'm going to slide down the slide and make a little hook on the end, and then I'm going to follow that back up. This is the same shape, but it goes down instead of out. So once again, I'm going to kind of slide down the slide and make a little hook on the end. Follow it back up. And then on this side, we've got a curve, kind of like an S, but backwards. And then a C on that side. And there we go. We've got the feet. Okay, now to make the branch, I'm going to begin between the feet. So it's going to go from this foot that's curling around it to this foot. From this toe to this toe, pick up my pencil, move to the other side, and move on. Move on. And my branch on this one is not the exact same shape. See how the toes are a little different on this one? But that's okay because it still works. So before we begin to color on the bird, let's talk a little bit about shading. See how it's a little darker up here? That's because the bird is round, and by making this darker up here, it makes him appear to be round. It makes it appear that his body rolls on back. See how it's a little darker back here? Same thing. It makes it look like it rolls under with his tummy. It's a little darker here because the wing is in front of the body, and that creates a shadow. Same thing right here where the wing is in front of the body right here. Then we have a little shading here just because it just kind of, there's a little bit of a dip there behind his eye. See how shading helps to create the shape. And then highlights, the lighter areas, help to brighten it and kind of bring it forward toward you. And that all makes this little bird look very round And like he's just almost real. He could just almost fly off the page, couldn't he? Okay, so let's move this out of our way and move over to this page and begin to shade and blend. I'm going to begin with the charcoal pencil, and I'm going to first give some shading to my beak by right here in the middle and a little bit on the bottom. Now see how I didn't do very much? That's because with charcoal it's very dark and it can be very strong, and if we overdo it then it will blend out too much. So we just want to add a little bit and then we'll blend it more. Now watch this. I'm going to use, I have a blending stump here. This is made out of paper. See how it's pointed on the end? I'm going to use the pointy end and I'm going to rub this charcoal with that pointy end. I'm being very careful to stay on the line and not to blend it outside of that line. Okay, now I'm going to blend the top of it too. And this line. See how much prettier that looks? Just a little bit here on the bottom. Much prettier that looks than where it's grainy here. Okay, now I'm going to blend his eye, being very careful not to lose my glint. Okay, now we're ready to add some more shading. I'm going to take my charcoal pencil and I'm going to make these little wispy, feathery lines here. See, he's got little feathers here. I want some shading here, but by making it the shading a part of his little feathers, little tiny feathers that are here, that makes it look more natural. And then we're going to put a little shading here to give some shape to that part of his face. Okay, then right here, I need some shading here. But instead of just coloring it dark, I'm going to add some of the feathers, little tiny lines, to make it look like feathers here. A little bit more down here. Remember we talked about shading down here so that his tummy looks round. What we're doing by adding these lines, these feathery lines, is making this area a little bit darker. Then we need some under that wing. So I'm doing that by just making a darker line and then a few more little wispy feathers over in here. Okay, now let's begin to blend just a little bit so you can see how that's going to look. Again, I'm going to take the tip of my blending stump and I'm going to blend that with the same motion that I drew it with, the same little wispy lines that I drew it with. Same thing down here. Charcoal's pretty fun to work with. It blends pretty easily. You'll want to be careful not to get it on your fingers because it will smear. And you'll need to spray your drawings with hairspray or something safe that will preserve them. There are things that are called fixative that you can use, but that would be something you would not want to spray by yourself because they can be That can be dangerous chemicals. So if you need to use fixative, be sure and get help from an adult. And do that outside. Don't do that inside your house. You need to have lots of open air.